Hello and welcome to Vidane TV's coverage of the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. It's the track too tough to tame. We're in the Sandhills of South Carolina at the Darlington Raceway. For Cup racing action tonight, I'm Kevin England with my partners in crime, Tim Terry and Paul Showtime Strickland, to call tonight's race action. And Tim, what more is there to say? But this is Darlington.
Yeah, it's Darlington. You see the information that you need on your screen here this evening. And Kevin, it's going to be one of those races where we've seen a lot of green flag racing out of these SIM500 Transervice Cup Series drivers. Got to watch the Boomer Cup race on Thursday here, albeit different weather conditions. It still provided a little bit, I think, of what we're going to see tonight, potentially some green flag pit stops. Drivers going to have to mind their tires a little bit. Don't overheat the tires. Don't get them too excited. And the driver, I think, with the longest or the best long run mindset may very well win this race tonight.
Yeah, certainly. This is a track of comers and goers. And Daniel Falkingham set the pole, 28.796. Pretty fast time here, but fast doesn't always cut it, to your point, Tim. You got to pace yourself here at Darlington. The long run can mean you got to save those tires.
Yeah, as you look through the field, great qualifying effort for Robert Gillenwater here tonight. Mike Kelly, he was one of those drivers that was really strong in the Boomer Cup Series on Thursday night. Josh Williams, a winner already this season. Justin Fuller, some big names there. Doy Woods is back as well in the Transervice Cup Series. So there's some big names here that could win. Obviously, Adam Gilliland not here this evening. E.J. O'Rourke not here this evening. A couple of names that might not be here that have an opportunity to win on a regular basis, going to be on the sideline. So a little bit short on the field, but we still got some big talent here tonight.
This track, with all the characteristic, opened 1950, and it's egg-shaped. It's big, sweeping first and second hand corner with 25 degrees of banking, but it's awful tight down there in 3 and 4. 23 degrees of banking will hold the car, but it's going to go up to the wall, and these drivers, they're going to be up on the wheel all night long as the field rolls off and gets ready with Falkingham, Diallo, Parker, King, and Gillenwater, your top 5 here for the start. I talked to a couple drivers down there, and they're a little nervous about this racetrack. They have talked Tim all the way through practice about the fact that the recent changes have lessened the grip here quite a bit.
Absolutely. You can see the safer barrier coming out a little bit. And as this racetrack was used for the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series, the cautions necessarily might not be as easily thrown as the older version of Darlington or the other former enhanced version of Darlington's. Keep that in mind tonight. There's lots to follow as we go through 130 laps.
Race number 11 of a 36-race season that ends November 8th, and working our way towards the championship, almost a third of the way there, and you got to go through Darlington twice this year as green flag is out, and they head off to turn number 1.
Side by side for 1 second. Oumar on the outside gets a little shot there, and Gillenwater half sideways as he tries to save it. They're all jockeying for position here early. Some of these drivers a little more antsy than others, and Robert Gillenwater again almost bought the farm off too.
You see these drivers, they'll drop off the racing surface, and if they get sideways, if they don't crash, a lot of them down there will not draw a caution. We saw several cars down on the apron over there in turn number 2, but we remain green as they go across to complete lap number 1. Falkingham leads Parker out of turn number 2.
And as we look through the field, we're going to see a lot of throwback paint schemes here this evening. As you see the 2-car on your screen, that's Mike Kelly, obviously a throwback Penske scheme, a Miller Lite scheme on that race car as he chases down Oumar Diallo, your winner from 1 week ago. Josh Williams right in behind and within the top 5 right now, and still plenty of time to get things done here. Passing a little bit at a premium here, Kevin, but you can still definitely get it done, especially if you get up and kind of set up that pass to make it happen.
Just saw the 38 of Chad Coleman take over that 19th position, snuck past the 44 of Glenn Campbell. And Coleman tucks in line there. He's trying to chase down Scott Simley in the number 12. And yeah, it is an art and a science to try and make a pass here. You're going to try and run hard up to the back bumper through the corner without crashing into the guy in front of you, and then draw underneath. If you could be underneath that driver on the entry to the corner, most of them will yield because they want to be down there on that white line on entry.
You look back in behind there and see Boris Cook is back with us here this evening, making another start in the Transervice Cup Series. Glad to see the 63 car back out on the racetrack. He is pulling away from Richard Beasley and trying to catch up to the 44 Transervice car of Glenn Campbell, middle of the pack right now, as these drivers try to find a place to race. As Daniel Falkingham leads the field down into corner number 1 and 2, about a second or so up on Josh Parker and the rest of the field. And Kevin, and I don't want to jinx it, but for the most part, as you ride on board with Boris Cook, you see up in front of him, besides maybe a couple of quick passes, seems like everybody's kind of found a place to race right now.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks that you want to get through the start, check the box. You want to get a couple laps under your belt, get a feel for the car, check the box. Then what you want to do is size up the competition. You tend to race with the cars a couple in front of you and a couple in back of you. You're kind of looking at how stable the car is in front of you. And then you decide whether you want to draw up and see if you can get that pass. And as we see that the cars go side by side there with 33 looking underneath, unable to make the pass, but here he's going to draw along Donnie Leah, and the two of them streak off of turn number 4. It's tough to make the pass, Tim, when you're on the inside. You got to still get that nose out front before you can call that position yours.
And this is the closest battle between multiple race cars, I think, right now on this racetrack. Byron able to get the pass done on Donnie. Donnie was sideways a couple of times leading into that battle. Kind of got that rear end a little bit sideways. Byron was down to the inside, couldn't make the pass work. And now here comes Elliot Henderson trying to do the same and get another position on that Transervice number 29. In behind them, side by side, Glenn Campbell finally has company in Boris Cook. Cook able to catch up to Glenn Campbell, and you know, you can throw a blanket over about 10 or 12 race cars here. They're single file right now, but it doesn't take much for them to get double file, and they'll complete 8 laps this time by.
Looking at the TV panel, Kevin King's car, looks like it got dinged a little bit. Not sure if somebody got into him somewhere along the way early in that going there, but back of the car probably won't hurt you too much here from a lap time standpoint.
Was talking to Kevin last night, and he's really excited about these SIM500 Transervice Cup Series races. We talked to him a couple of weeks ago when he was on the podium, and just having fun, excited to be here. And whether he makes the playoffs or not, he's still got a long shot to get there, but we know Kevin King's talent. He should be able to get up there, reel off a couple of good finishes. And he told me, he said he really hasn't had the best of luck so far in the last couple of weeks or so. He did win a league race, I believe a week ago or so. But other than that, it's kind of been feast or famine for the 88 team, at least on the iRacing service. But right now, no harm, no foul. Running position number 6, and very early in this race, definitely has lots of time to go.
Just watched Josh Williams come up off the corner, a little bit nervous. Car stepped out on him. He was able to just ease off the throttle and get it back in. He was chasing the 48 of Oumar Diallo close enough that he nicked him, banged into him going into the corner. And I said, you want to be tight to the car in front of you so that you can get that pass off, but you run the risk of running into the back of him, and well, 48 looks like the back of the 88. Now it's got a little push in. You have to wonder if that crinkled in the nose of the 95 of Joshua Williams, and possibly that's why he's dropping back a little bit in that 4th position.
He's going to fall back a little bit and almost got the wall off of corner number 4 that last time by. A couple of close cars right in behind as well. This is shaping up to be a pretty good run here. Now, when I watched the race on Thursday night with the Boomer Cup Series, as you see the 18 of Kyle Tarasca on your screen, Doy Woods right in behind, we saw some differing pit strategies in that race, and we saw some drivers try to go 60, 70 laps. Obviously, if you can go 70 laps here, you can go past halfway and get one stop out of this thing. The general consensus was to do at least 2. We saw one try to do 3. It all depends how angry you get your tires in this first run, Kevin, whether you want to come down a little bit early, try to short pit, and try to undercut those drivers that are on the racetrack. But little too early to look at pit stops, but I would say probably around 40, 45 laps or so is when that window will really begin to open.
130 laps is the distance here. And to your point, tires are a premium. 4 sets, including the ones you started on. So these drivers will look at the quarter mark of each one of these to see whether or not they can change tires. And sometimes you get these long green flag runs, and then you can probably pick quickly to swap those tires out. It all depends on the complexion of the race as to how you're going to play that.
There's Brian Macklin in the number 30. Good to see he actually finished a race last week, Kevin. We've been joking the last couple of weeks that he hasn't been able to put together a race. It seems like by the end of the race, when that checkered flag comes out, he's not on the racetrack. But finished one last week for the first time in a handful of races, and now kind of riding, trying to pick up a couple of positions, work his way towards the front, made that pass on Tyler Dalton, and starts to work a little bit closer towards that top 20, currently sitting in position number 23, so still a long way to go. In front of him, Tommy Ryan, I believe that is, sporting the throwback Northern Tool colors on that race car, and then looking to get a little bit closer again to the top 20. I believe Tommy qualified a little bit closer towards the front of the field, so falling back a little bit here after starting 10th.
Darlington stripe for the SCP 43 of Doug Roth over there in 3 and 4. And this is one of those racetracks. I've been to Darlington, sat in the stands. And as you watch the racetrack, every lap seems like somebody's up in the wall. And here, if you watch enough, you can catch little wiggles off the corner, little connections to the fence. The 43 got passed by the 24 of Stefan Marinick for 27th and is able to carry on. But going back to the Macklin story, had a tough season so far. That definitely is going to help the situation from last week. A good finish. He raced 7 spots in the points to 23rd, and we've been documenting that all season, Tim. He needs to finish up in the points with those wins to be in the hunt for the championship. Last week kind of righted that a little bit.
And you see on your screen now, there's Doug Roth in the 43. We used to seeing him in these colors, so I really wouldn't call it a throwback, Kevin, because we're used to seeing the petty colors on this number 43 car, but has had a couple of good runs early to start off this season. We'll see what he can do here this evening at Darlington. I believe that might be the 8 Randy Yoakum right in behind him, but still trying to find some speed here early in this race, with still plenty of laps to get it done. 18 on the board as you see the 8 of Yoakum on your screen, running down the back straightaway there, looking towards corner number 3. There's still some drivers that are looking to find a little bit of speed, trying to find a little bit more here early in this first run and not get caught behind the 8 ball.
Well, it's a lot of fun watching these cars go around and reminisce at some of the older paint schemes that the drivers have pulled out. I was looking at Jimmy Coleman in the Pepsi ride, the number 11. I think he's currently running where in the 28th, according to the scoring sheet. It reminds me of Brett Hearn ran a number 20 modified up at the Orange County Speedway, and he was unbeatable in that paint scheme from that era. And it's just a cool looking paint scheme on these NASCAR style cars.
And we saw just in front of that number 11, we saw Cody Smith. He's one of our newer drivers to this Transervice Cup Series. He was doing a little bit of a battle with another one of those throwback paint schemes that we've seen. There's the 63 on your screen. That's Scott Stenzel. Not a throwback, but a scheme that is very, very familiar to us here, albeit without the damage on the side of that race car. Kevin, looks like he's been into the wall.
Couple drivers had some problems early on. We saw Eric Arnold go to pit road about 11 laps ago, and I don't believe he's pulled away. They're going to pull that car behind the fence. Also troubles for Scott Stenzel being 1 lap down, and Jason Barham now a couple laps down. So, yeah, this track, not to some people's liking, is I'm watching Josh Parker right now, running in that second position. 2.6 seconds off. That's about half a straightaway, maybe a little bit more behind Daniel Falkingham, who's been leading since lap 1. I noticed with the 23s just kind of staying a half car length down off the wall, Tim, keeping the car clean. Doesn't look like he's panicking. He's just kind of pacing himself right now.
You run on board with Josh Parker, and it looks pretty smooth right now up towards the outside wall. Don't get into it. Don't get that Darlington stripe, but let it kind of ease out and then ease out towards the wall on the exit of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway into 3. You mentioned some of those drivers that have retired from the race. Justin Fuller got into the wall right here off 3 and 4 a few laps ago and decided that was the end of the night for him. Pulled down onto the inside of the racetrack and exited the race car. So Justin Fuller is done for the evening. He'll finish in 33rd position. But you just saw with that onboard, these drivers are running so close to the wall, and that's what you've got to do. You got to ride that fine line without stepping over it to be fast here.
Kind of a surprise to see him out. Some of these drivers just, I'm not saying this about that is his fate, but some of these drivers just hate this racetrack. Many of them love it. They love the lure of it. In the sim world, it's as appealing as it is for the real world to come here and race, but some drivers just, they have no use for this place.
It's an acquired taste. It's almost like you got some drivers that like short tracks. You've got drivers that love super speedways. You've got drivers that like a racetrack like Darlington where it's a driver's track and you really have to get up on the wheel and be up on the wheel every single lap and every single corner around this racetrack. And some of these drivers kind of take to it more than others, but you look at the top 5, you look at the top 10 right now, the drivers that we're used to seeing running up front, as it looks like Tarasca may get close to the wall off of corner number 4 that last time by, but Falkingham, Parker, Diallo, Williams, and King, you've got you got some winners up there in the top 5 and familiar names to the sim racing community.
If you look who's won this year, there's a bunch of different names, as you said, out front. But you have also those names that we would have expected to pick up a win. They've run well enough this season to think that they should be there. I haven't seen the 2 of Mike Kelly, although he's won so many races, get the job done. But, you know, this is the type of racetrack where right now it's showing that our regulars are doing a great job. But somebody like a Mike Kelly, you talked about the Boomer Cup Series and how well he ran. You get a long green flag run, and a driver like Mike shows up and pulls himself a victory out of this place. So we'll have to see. We're 28 laps into what is a 130-lap race, so 100 laps to go. A lot of things can happen here at Darlington.
And the good thing is that these drivers have kind of found their rhythm and found their groove. We are about halfway when it comes to the pit run. Oh, there's the 2 of Kelly into the fence. Just got a little more than he wanted to. Going to move the 29 of Donnie Leah to the inside. We're used to seeing Jose Gonzalez in that bright Goya can going around this racetrack. And strikingly similar to the throwback that the 2 of Mike Kelly has. But Gonzalez is going to pick up one more position there. And there's a driver that really impressed me on the strategy when we had that Boomer Cup race on Thursday night, where he was able to really micromanage the race, Kevin, and put himself in a position near the end to win the race. And now sitting in behind the 29 at Donnie Leah. Still got some traffic up there, but the car looks fairly clean. And so far, so good. Mission accomplished. Running in 12th.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez is one of those drivers that really knows how to pace himself. He'll ride in the back and then show up at the end, and definitely a good long run driver. Knows how to take care of his equipment. Same as Pedro Mojica, who is our point leader, but is not in the event here tonight. Pedro took over the point lead over Daniel Falkingham, but with Falkingham out front and Pedro not here, you have to imagine that they're going to flip-flop that. Good run there by Jose Gonzalez, looking up out of his front windshield at Donnie Leah. Donnie with a win this season, quietly having a good night here, running just outside the top 10. I wonder if Donnie's ever run this track for real.
I'm sure he has, or at least he's been here before and knows his way around this racetrack. And the one thing that you mentioned is a couple of those drivers. We mentioned Adam Gilliland earlier, EJ O'Rourke not being here. These drivers do have 4 drops, I believe, in the regular season. So if you do miss a race, it's not necessarily the, hang your hand over the panic button sort of thing. You still have to be top 30 in points in order to be eligible for your win, to be your ticket to the playoffs. So there's still a couple of drivers, including the one on your screen, Donnie Leah, in the 29, that needs to get a couple of points. But with some drops, Donnie didn't have the best of starts to the season, does have that win at Bristol in his back pocket. So if he can continue to pick off some points and click off some decent runs, he'll be there when the time counts. He's running in behind David Comstock. That's for position number 10 and 11. And just looking off the side of our screen, I see Kevin King has picked up a position to position number 4, passing Josh Williams. There he is on your screen right there. And in behind, Kyle Taraska got the wall about 10 laps or so ago. But I'm impressed with Robert Gillenwater. Great qualifying effort, staying up here in the top 10, and kind of keeping that race car clean and doing what he has to do. Had to scare off the start, Kevin, but looks pretty good now.
Yeah, Gillenwater, he's one of those drivers that this probably suits his driving style. Very consistent, very smooth. Practice his entry. Good mechanics. And this type of track rewards that type of driver. Currently holding down that 7th position and having a good run in the Kodak Delco battery number 4 Chevrolet.
He's chasing down the driver in front of him, Kyle Taraska, keeping him honest, not really putting a ton of pressure on him, but just making sure that Kyle knows that the 4 car is there. And you kind of saw off that speed shot, it looks like everybody is kind of in the same mindset and the same mind frame right now. You see this battle right here is a little bit closer. The caution flag will fly for the first time this evening on lap 36.
Yeah, a couple cars got together coming off of turn number 4. The number 3 of Ryan was involved. See Henderson in the number 37, and I believe it's Tyler Dalton, that slid up into the track enough down there on the front stretch to draw the caution.
We'll send it down to the production trailer and Paul Strickland Jr. with the Kong Beer Bong instant replay to see what brought out the caution, and it'll start with the 19 of Tyler Dalton, as Kevin mentioned. Tough break for the 19, Paul. Was running up front a little bit early and kind of slipped back after his qualifying effort.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of drivers throughout the evening here kind of wreck kind of down low on the bottom of the apron there. And unfortunately, with the racing group being so high up on this track here, it doesn't quite throw out the caution right away. So we'll take a look here. The number 19, Tyler Dalton, keep an eye on him. He's going to bounce off the wall here on the front stretch, come down, smack that inside barrier there. There you see the 37 as well as the number 3 car of Ryan coming down, barreling in out of turn number 4 too. That's one of those deals where we saw it happen in practice here before the event. Drivers coming off of turn 4, you see a little bit of smoke. You can almost, I don't want to say overreact, but you react just a little bit too much, and unfortunately sends that car around. And there you can see the damage on both the 19 and the 37. The back of the 37 car missing now. The back of the 19 car a little bit on the crinkled up side. And you guys have been doing a great job so far here throughout the evening. I'm very excited to see that we haven't had too many wrecks.
Timing is perfect for tire rotation because they want to run about 35 laps on tires. So all the drivers, you can bet 4 tires and fuel this go around. And one of the dynamics that you see is if a car slides off the racetrack out of the corner, it lays down a heavy barrier of smoke, Tim. And I think the second incident was first driver checking up to drive through the smoke, make sure there wasn't a car on the other side, and the car behind him, not anticipating it, has just about the entire field down with 4 tires and fuel and now coming off pit road.
It's kind of weird how both of those cars that we just saw in that incident kind of had the same wobble off of the corner. It's almost like there would be virtual oil on the racetrack with the way it was, but obviously with iRacing we don't have that, as the field comes off of pit road for the first time this evening. And 38 laps in, Kevin, these guys are going to have to make at least one more pit stop here this evening. You can go about 70 laps or so on fuel, so that would put us at lap 100, 110 if they really wanted to stretch it. Not enough to get to lap 130. So I don't think we're done seeing yellow flags here this evening, but we're definitely not done seeing green flag or pit stops at least.
Yeah, so the field now collected behind the 39 at Falkingham. He's going to be able to hold the lead. I saw the 19 down there on pit road right now trying to get some service to the back end of that car, all banged up. Tyler Dalton going to lose 1 lap in that exchange. So did Elliot Henderson. Cody Smith is 3 laps down. Scott Stenzel is 9. And, you can go from there. The surprise has to be Justin Fuller. I have to wonder if something happened to the car. That's kind of unusual, as strong as he's run all season long, to see him retire so early.
Yeah, he just hit the wall off of turn 4 and quit. I know he complained earlier that he didn't get a whole lot of practice this evening leading in. He was at the real Darlington Raceway this weekend for the throwback weekend, so didn't get a whole lot of practice on the sim, and I think he just might have given up and called it a night after he got into the wall fairly heavy off of turn number 4. So a tough break for Justin Fuller, but again, with those drops, that'll help him a little bit and keep him at least in the top 30 where he needs to be to try to lock himself into the playoffs. Field will be double file here, and we'll get ready to go back to green. And how about the pit stop for Robert Gillenwater? Back up in the top 5, sitting in position number 4. Byron Daly in 5th, and then Doy Woods. I'm not sure if he took 2 tires or not, Kevin, but a quick pit stop nevertheless going to put him in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know that I would love to see 2 tires on this racetrack. I'd want 4 tires every time, but that's an interesting call if that's what's going on there. I saw the 21 of Cody Smith do the wave around in the Motorcraft Ford. He's driving around to the back of the field, so he'll have warm tires, but at least he's a tag along at this point, hoping for a quick caution, and then he'll go in and change his tires. As Falkingham getting ready for the restart here, chose the high line to get that start. Right underneath him is the 88 of King. We'll see how good these two do at the restart game, as we saw this a couple weeks ago. Falkingham gets the good jump. He's going to clear him easily. Heading down to the start-finish line, King able to slot into that second spot. Gillenwater going to open the hole and let him in as they roll through to turn number 1 and into the banking. Good restart, textbook for Daniel Falkingham.
A couple of drivers checked up on the outside line, including Doy Woods. I think David Comstock got a little bit of damage off of that one as well. Doy did take 4 tires, went back to double-check 4 tires on the 07 car on that last pit stop, but it's stacked up the lineup a little bit here. You see the 12 of Scott Simley getting by. You see the 26 of Jose Gonzalez on your screen, the 29 of Donnie Leah, and then up the road, Oumar Diallo was able to pick up a couple of positions, as was Byron Daly, and trying to work their way through the field. So picking up a couple of positions on that restart, and now Daly back on the attack to the inside of Gillenwater for position number 4. He'll get it. Oumar Diallo going to try to get one more spot as well.
Another side-by-side battle up there for that 14th position. The 10 of Beasley has it. It's the 07 of Doy Woods stuck in underneath. Williams coming to him. I saw the 93 of Kevin Brown off of turn number 4 last time. It was the anti-slide job. He was just trying to hold the car, pinch it down, and the thing stepped out. He was probably about 35, 40 degrees. A lot of times with this car, if you let off the gas, it will thankfully come back to center the way the banking works. It's Brown, tense moments off of turn 4 there a moment ago.
Yeah, that's a great looking Dick's car on the 93 of Kevin Brown as he has tries to bring that one towards the front of the field. Boris Cook had a moment a couple of laps ago off of the corner and was able to save that thing and keep it out of harm's way. But in front of him, he's got the 2 of Kelly. He's got a couple more in front of him trying to chase them down and pick up a couple more positions. Joey Katina in his throw back as well. Beautiful looking colors on the number 14 this week. Trying to get used to some of these colors and some of these number schemes and colors on these cars, Kevin, and then we'll have to do it all over again when they go back to the regular paint schemes next week. Oh, there goes Kevin Brown again. What a save by the 93.
Yeah, that's one. He's not done yet. He's got to get back to the racing service. The good news for him is he, better part of valor, let everybody go by and allowed that car to get sorted out. If he just stayed in the throttle there, I think he probably would have come up into the racetrack, but certainly had a handful there, didn't he?
Yeah, that car's got a little bit of damage to the back end as well. I'm sure it's not handling the way it started the race, and a little bit of damage to the front as well. The closing rate with some of these cars, you see the 3 of Jeff Ryan there, the 93 of Kevin Brown and Scott Stenzel closed up, and Jeff Ryan all over the place on the inside. He's going to get out of dodge and let those other cars go by, but a couple of close calls here on the restart, including the one with 3 of Jeff Ryan.
Yeah, the missing front end on that number 3 is going to make that car a handful going into the corner. I was watching this battle here for 11th and 10th with the 23 of Josh Parker and the 30 of Brian Macklin up there in the 9th position. They tightened up a little bit. Leah, he was able to hold his own there for a little bit, but has dropped back some. Let's see if we can take a lap with Donnie Leah around this racetrack and describe the complexity as he goes across the start-finish line. Just clip the apron down there in turn number 1, let the car drift up to the fence. A lot of drivers will play with the throttle here. Slam on the gas, let it off, slam on the gas. Try to get the car to rotate through the center, and that helps it turn down so it drives off of turn number 2. You're going to float the car down in 3, go up against the fence, hopefully not carry so much speed that you hit the fence. You're going to ride that way, waiting to get on the throttle off of turn number 4. This entry into turn number 1 is always complicated, and you're really trying to finesse. This is where the speed is made on this racetrack. Between 1 and 2, you're doing your best to do exactly what he just did. Carry as much speed to that backstretch fence without hitting it. And here, you're just trying to manage. You want to do your best to get through this corner and get off the corner quickly, but it's so hard. These cars are right on the edge. They're so loose. The cars skate around. There's no grip, especially with tire wear. It gets loose when you step on the throttle. It's so easy to come down and clip the apron and go up across the track. And wow, it just shows to the skill. You see the car out front wag the tail. You just get used to the car being all over the place. And Donnie Leah closing in right now fastly on that 23 of Josh Parker right there in front of him.
Yeah, you see the 23 on your screen. It looks like he's been through 51 laps at Bristol rather than 51 laps at Darlington. Damage on the front, damage on the rear. And we rode on board with Donnie Leah there. He's more on the offense than he is on the defense, but you can see off of these shots, the 95 of Josh Williams is there should the 29 make one small slip. And we saw it in that last wreck with 2 cars coming off at turn number 4. The car in front of you makes one small little bobble. Kevin gets in the wall, comes back down the racetrack. Whatever the case may be, they make a mistake. There's really no time to react if you're up on the wheel like the number 95 is right now, right in behind the 29 of Donnie Leah. But these drivers know a thing or two about these race cars. They've raced with each other all season long, and they are putting on a great show as they continue to battle it out for position.
So simple for the car in front of you to lose a moment. They're watching you out of the rearview mirror, and they get sideways, they check up, they do whatever, and you punch that back in the car in front of you. And it's frustrating to have that happen, but it's just part of the race, you know. And I'm looking at Falkingham up front. I've not talked about him because, quite frankly, he's been in charge all night long, but he's got just over a half-second lead over Kevin King, who is now sitting in that second position. And I think King is planning to make a pest of himself. Just kind of pacing himself. Falkingham not getting out to that half straightaway lead. And I have to wonder if Falkingham is taking advantage of clean air. They talk about that so much with this build. And Daniel's just been smooth as glass here tonight. No marks on that car.
Yeah, you look at the 88 on your screen at Kevin King. You were in the FTF race here last night at Darlington, and the one thing I took away from watching that race was he got penalized about halfway through that race, had to come from the back of the field, had to make that pit stop under green, and came back to finish in the top 5 after running up front and running so strong. Now, Kevin, we're seeing the 88 car. It just kind of ride right now. You mentioned kind of be a pest and not go away. If you're Daniel Falkingham, you look back, you still see the team in the rearview mirror, but it's a little bit further back that you don't have to worry about it. But if Kevin turns the wick up, he's going to be there, and there's going to be a battle for the lead. But I think Kevin is just kind of pacing himself right now, knows he can't win this race right now on lap number 56, and he's got a manageable gap up to Daniel Falkingham, got about a second back to Kyle Taraska, and then the rest of the field in behind, but another second and a half back to Byron Daly, Oumar Diallo battling for position number 4. But right now, these drivers at least in the top 5, and actually you look off the speed shop, probably within the top 10, Kevin, kind of have this race managed right now.
Yeah, there's small little battles, and like we said on the outset, sometimes you just race that car that's with you. You race the racetrack. You try to get your clean lap, get to the inside, make that pass. I'm looking at Kyle Taraska, and just let's talk about his season for a moment. Sitting third in points, 18 points behind Pedro Mojica. He's been right there, while not as spectacular as Daniel Falkingham. He's got 4 top 5s, 8 top 10s, plenty of bonus points. Just really putting together a solid effort. We keep saying it week after week. Just, he doesn't have a win yet, but he's the highest in the standings. The drivers 2 in front of him and 2 behind him in the point standings have a win. But I'll tell you, Kyle Taraska, 1/3 of the way through the season almost at Personal Comfort Mustang. He's putting together a really good show.
It's one of those drivers that, and one of those cars that we know Kyle Taraska is going to win one of these races. Just a matter of when he's going to punch his ticket into victory lane consistent. He almost got the wall there a couple of laps ago off at turn number 2, but the same can be said for a lot of these drivers in the field running that fine line off the corners. But Kyle's going to be one of those drivers, I think, that's going to win a race. Is it going to happen tonight? He's got himself in a position within the top 5 that could very well play out to his favor, but we'll kind of wait and see how this all plays out, kind of minding his own race, managing his own race right now, sitting in position at number 3. You saw that Donnie Leah got past Robert Gillenwater a couple laps ago for position number 9 and 10, and Gillenwater is almost in danger for the first time this evening under green, falling out of the top 10. He's got Josh Williams behind him by about 8 car lengths or so he's trying to reel him in. But again, having a great run tonight, Robert Gillenwater in the throwback number 4, and keeping it up in the top 10 so far through 60 laps.
As this race proceeds under green here at Darlington, you're going to start looking at Daniel Falkingham catching up to the back of the pack. He's got about a half straightaway. He's going to come upon the number 19. We saw Tyler Dalton. He's 1 lap down, trying to get that car fixed. It's not up to speed 100% here, and Falkingham closing in on him, but that is a dynamic with these long green flag runs with these drivers that, yeah, the leaders are going to start to mix it up with cars that are back markers.
And we're getting to the point where about halfway or so in what would be, I would think, a green flag pit stop, Kevin. These guys had a caution just past lap 35, and they go green around 40. So if you go 45 laps or so, it kind of splits the run into 2 as you ride on board with Daniel Falkingham. So we're about 20 laps or so away from seeing these guys potentially, or at least the first wave, down onto pit road. So keep that in mind as well. We're about halfway through the run, or a third of the way through the run, maybe for some of those drivers that are going to try to extend it a little bit. So these cars are starting to fall off a little bit handling-wise. Looks like Mike Kelly and Doy Woods have called it an evening. They are done this evening from Darlington. So there's 2 more casualties this evening. So 28 drivers remain on this racetrack right now as they continue to soldier on. We're getting closer to the halfway point, 2 laps away from halfway tonight.
Yeah, race ticking by quickly. We saw Falkingham go past the 19 there on the back straightaway, and he's got about a full straightaway clear in front of him before he gets to the number 3 of Jeff Ryan. And we're conveyor belt racing here, Tim. Every once in a while, you just see this dynamic, especially under green flag, where everybody's spread out. And now you're imagining that every single driver is kind of racing the racetrack, trying to do what they can. As the 3 of Ryan bounced it off the wall there, and then bounced it off again. So Darlington stripe on every corner for that 3 right now.
Donnie Leah nearly had a moment as he was battling with Brian Macklin for 8th and 9th. Donnie kind of got underneath the 30 of Macklin and got to that right or that left rear quarter and just made a little bit of contact, had that thing in a 4-wheel drift, and he paid the price. He's fallen back in behind the 30 of Macklin, and Robert Gillenwater has recaught the 29 after Leah ran away from the 4 car. So there's another little battle to watch as we just get past the halfway point. 65 down, 65 to go in this 130-lap race.
Yeah, the reason I was looking at Ryan and some of those other drivers that are on the tail end is when you see the leader coming, you tend to start to try and pick it up a little bit. We saw the 45 get a little loose, and certainly Elliot Henderson in the 37, who's back there, knows that the leader's coming. Everybody's really good awareness of that, and so these drivers, they'll pick up the pace a little bit, and then they're going to put themselves in peril, especially that 37, no back to that car. So it makes for a complicated run when the car doesn't have any grip going in. And, these drivers, how many times do you see it, Tim? They run this racetrack where they go down the back straightaway. You see the red and white stripe, red, white, red, white, red, white. Then you get to that mark where there's a sign right here. And the advertisement changes and you go, okay, that's where I'm going to let off and turn in. And you try to hit those marks, as we talk about it every lap. But here at Darlington, even if you hit the lap sometimes when you go in, for whatever reason, you're carrying just that little iota more of speed, and the car washes up and you get yourself into the fence.
Like Mike Montesi just did there in the middle of the corner. Mike's had a couple of good runs, had a good run last week going, and just not the speed here this evening at Darlington, and he's in danger of falling a lap down. Currently scored back, let's say 25th place, second to last car on the lead lap in this event. But kind of watching that battle again between Brian Macklin, Donnie Lee, and Robert Gillenwater, and it's changed one more time. You did see the 30 lead that pack, and he's got a little bit of damage to that race car, a little sideways that time out of the corner, but I believe he might have got the wall here a couple of laps ago. Kevin, the 29 of Leah, was able to get by, as was the 4 of Robert Gillenwater. So move Brian Macklin back to position number 10 as they close in on Tyler Dalton. Dalton in front of this number 29 is a lap vehicle.
Yeah, one of the tightest battles on the racetrack right now, the 99 of Tommy Ryan, and he gets sideways, bangs into the wall. The 44 of Campbell's going to take the opportunity and shoot by. Ryan was chasing Josh Parker, was right to his back bumper, trying to hustle the car, maybe a little bit too much. Parker loose up off of turn number 4, and the 44 of Glenn Campbell trying to chase him through. So we got one slow here on the front straightaway. That'd be the 19 of Tyler Dalton. Saw dark smoke coming out of one of the cars, and I think the 19 is going to take it to the house.
Tough break for Tyler Dalton here this evening, just past the halfway point in this event. You know what? You look up and down the lineup. We talked earlier about the 51 of Justin Fuller having his issues, but the 23, obviously back end, front end damage on Josh Parker's machine, just trying to limp on here and hang on. Josh Williams, I figured Josh would be more of a factor here this evening, but the 95 car is in position number 11. Yes, there is still half the race to run, and we expect to see Josh Williams up there because the car, Kevin, looks fairly clean from this point in the personal comfort. Number 95, a little crinkle maybe on the back end, but it looks fairly clean from at least this vantage point. You look down through the list, David Comstock. We're used to seeing David run a little bit closer towards the front of the field. He's just barely inside the top 8 or the top 20 in 18th place. And Stefan Marinick is coming on to pit road. And you want to talk about a throwback, Kevin? That Jeff Gordon throwback that the 24 has is pretty sharp tonight. So the 24 comes down to his box. Service going to start on Stefan Marinick's car. Daniel Falkingham continues to lead, Kevin, and I think, obviously, I don't think a car that's inside or just outside the top 20 is going to dictate green flag pit stops, but Stefan Marinick, not the only one down on pit roads. This might start to see the parade down on the pit road, albeit I figured they would wait another 10 laps or so. We might see those leaders wait a little bit longer to come down.
Yeah, one of the things that's happening is as Falkingham gets past, he went past Montesi, as we talked about the fact that he was catching the back of the field. He's just blown by them. A lot of these drivers pulling down, letting the 39 go by. Falkingham enters turn number 3 right now, just on cruise control. And as he starts to catch the back of the field, I think some of these drivers know if they go get fresh tires, maybe they'll be able to help themselves out in the long run.
When you're sitting in the middle to the back of the pack, there's two of those strategies, Kevin. And I think at least at this point, if we were to start the race and we were to go to lap 70 or so, and you could make this a fuel mileage race, I think it almost makes sense. But everybody has to make one pit stop now with that caution flag that we had just shy of lap number 40. So it's not like you can do one stop compared to two. The two stopper is probably not going to work with this many laps left in the race. So the strategy kind of comes out the window. So if you're running at the back of the field, maybe you try to undercut those guys in front of you just a little bit. Short-term gain. We'll see what it does in the long term. But another battle on the racetrack. There's Glenn Campbell setting up the 23 of Josh Parker and making it look easy. The Interstate Batteries number 23 will fall one more spot. But a couple of more cars coming down into pit road. So there's Josh Williams in the 95 being one of them down on pit road, was just outside the top 10. So this might get some looks from some of these teams that are running up there. There's Kevin Brown in the 93. He's had an up and down night in the Dix number 93 car. So this might start to force some hands within the top 10.
Yeah, you see some of the drivers now with fresh tires. They'll be coming in, and their speed will be incredible. And these drivers now need to not only pay attention to the ones they're racing around, but who's coming up quickly. Is wow, what a side-by-side battle there. You see for the 18 and the 48, 18 able to use that top line momentum to carry off. But Oumar Diallo, what a run he had there going down the back straightaway.
And now he's starting to see some drivers in behind him. The 63 of Stenzel, I believe, just came down pit road to get tires on his race car. So Byron Daly right behind him for a position. There's the 63 on your screen, and he just came down pit road. He actually might be a few laps down anyway, sitting actually 12 laps down. So the 63 the night for Scott Stenzel hasn't gone the way he wanted to in the personal comfort team, but just came down pit road, get tires, and see what you can do with these boys that are racing on the lead lap.
.37 pulls over and lets Kevin King go by on the back straightaway with the damage he has. And King, he's not been able to hold pace. Before we saw him kind of staying with Daniel Falkingham. Now he sits 3 seconds back. Then it's 6 seconds back to Taraska in third. And then Oumar and Byron continue to duel it out about 7 seconds back. And I thought that King maybe was saving something, but Falkingham is he's definitely got this car dialed in.
Keep watching that battle back there between Donnie Leah and Brian Macklin. And Donnie Leah, I think, missed pit road that last time by because he either got loose off of 4 or it looked like it was heading towards pit road and just missed it. And I think he missed it because he's going to come down this time and he's going to pull that car off the racetrack a little bit earlier than he tried the last time, Kevin, in turn 4. He's got Robert Gillenwater ahead of him. So this is where I think the hands are really forced right now. Donnie Leah, Robert Gillenwater, comfortably in the top 10 on this run. They'll come down pit road at lap number 81 again. I kind of anticipated around 85 would be where we see these leaders down, so a little bit soft, but this will be the final pit stop of the night if we go green.
Yeah, we're starting to hear the chatter on the radio for these drivers who are talking about coming to pit road as they see the 18 down on the apron over there in turn number 4. The back of that car all hammered. What happened with him?
Not sure what happened there, but definitely some damage to that number 18 car, especially on the right-hand side back. Yeah, that's not the look you want at Darlington. You can get into the wall and sport a little bit of damage, but not that much.
Yeah, going into turn number 1, he just got sideways, tagged the 48, and just pounded the wall back and forth, front and back. And that is the reason. And going back and looking lap 82, he went into turn number 1. I don't know if he just missed the entry or I'm not sure what the answer is, but significant damage to the number 18.
And albeit we got some pit stops coming up, but it's moved Byron Daly and Jose Gonzalez up a couple of spots as they get ready to head down to pit road. We would think here in the next few laps to get service to their race cars. I believe Joey Gattina was already down onto pit road, and if not, I think he's trying to get ready to come down here because the leaders are right in behind him by just a few seconds. So this is where everything gets a little bit interesting. When do you come down? How long do you wait? If you're at the back of the field, do you wait a little bit longer and hope a caution flag comes out? This is kind of where that strategy comes into play as you see the 4 of Gillenwater on fresh tires to the inside of Jimmy Coleman.
It was looking at the tire rotation. If you split the race into 33 laps, 33 laps, 33 laps, 33 laps, 4 segments, 65 you would pit. We had a caution on 35. Everybody went in. That was about right. But we've been green ever since. And then you would have changed at lap 100 or so. So the question is, will these drivers just continue to lose the speed? It would be difficult if any of those top drivers went in and ended up a lap down. They want to avoid that at all costs. So I think they're going to wait till the majority of the faster cars pit. But you have to wonder how this strategy plays out. We were talking about it on the outset, Tim, is this could come back to bite Daniel Falkingham.
Yeah, just quickly looking down the list, I think Stefan Marinick is the first driver to come down pit. Actually, it would be Josh Williams. He's currently 17th, scored as 1 lap down. Oumar Diallo is down on pit road in the 48 and waiting to see if these drivers up in front do decide to throw the hand out and come down pit road. But the top 2 at least staying on the racetrack. There is Joey Gattina in the 14 getting service to his race car as Byron Daly continues to do some laps out here on the racetrack, running 3rd.
So the 95 pitted lap 77, working lap 88, so 11 laps more on those tires for Daniel Falkingham. And seems to be a lot of chatter on the racetrack. They're talking about the situation with the 18. I have to believe the 18 lost a cylinder or something, is down on power. It's just riding around there on the apron.
I believe he's going to make it maybe down on the pit road this time, or maybe he was there. Him in the 48. He just tried to intentionally take out the 48 car.
Yeah, okay. Now we understand why he was riding around so slow. I thought he was damaged. I was trying to figure out, but yellow flag. And okay, so his commentary was there's about to be a caution. Well, now we know why.
So that is going to put Donnie Leah. It's going to put his teammate Josh Williams, I believe. Well, Josh might be the free pass car. But it's going to put Robert Gillenwater, after having such a good run tonight, behind the 8 ball. We're going to queue up the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. And you kind of saw it live as to what happened. But, Paul, yeah, that's racing, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely was. We're just pulling up the tapes now and want to just kind of double check everything here and make sure that we're pulling up the right thing, because we did get a quick little note that the 11 car crashed, and just looking at the replay here, everything seems to be legitimate with the 11 car. So we'll pull up the 18 of Kyle Taraska here and give it to you, and well, we'll let you be the judge back there at home, and we'll take a quick peek at it here again, the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. And there you can see the 18. He has been slow many times throughout the past 10 laps or so, and you can see the 48 kind of come up by, and he took a swat at him for sure. We'll take one more quick peek at it because we like stirring the pot here a little bit here on Verdane TV, but we're going to take a quick look from the air here, the TrackCams22.com chopper cam, as it were. We'll get it rewound here, and there you can see it almost looks like the 48 here. Here's a good shot. You can see the 48's coming off of pit road right here, and it I don't know, tough to tell. You guys be the judge.
Yeah, and I'll go back to tracing that incident. Figure if there was heat, there's fire. Go back to lap 81, I believe it is. Coming off of turn number 2, the 48 was tight to the back bumper, looking to make the pass on the 18. They got to the lapped car coming off of turn number 2, kind of held the 18 up and allowed the 48 to get down underneath him. And then what I saw is they went into turn 3, the 48 still trying to get the pass going into turn number 3. They were side by side off of 4. The 48 slipped up, got into the 18. They made contact with each other. And I think that precipitated what happened here. So 48 just tagged the 18. The 18 went to the wall. They played bumper car going down the front straightaway. And then I think that incident where I saw the 18 come down low in the corner, I think he was just trying to get to him and tag him. And that is why the extracurricular activity here. So we could trace that back to an on-track incident. And yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something Paul can go get. Lap number 81 in the back straightaway between the 48 and the 18 car, but that was the reason for the extracurricular activity, Kevin, as you mentioned, but it looks to me like a racing deal. Those guys are racing hard. The lap car gets out of the way. The incident happens after they pass the lap car. It just looks like a racing incident. And then what the 18 did afterwards was really uncalled for. He has been removed from the race. He is done for the evening. And we'll have to wait and see what happens afterwards, because he might be sitting back for a couple of races. I know there's been some heat in some of these races afterwards. And Kevin, it's not easy to be a race administrator or race controller, what have you. I know Adam Gilliland last week was penalized to the end of the field for a lane change after the race, not during the race. The penalty happened during the race, or the incident happened during the race, but he was penalized post-race for a lane change and lost his finishing position. So there's been some calls, there's been some upset people, there's been some tempers, and it looks like it's starting to potentially overflow here tonight.
Yeah, but that really doesn't change the complexity of what's going up out front. Daniel Falkingham leading the 88 of Kevin King, and we'll put all that away. I think it's kind of settled and over with right now. The one thing I noticed is this caution was manufactured or not advantageous for several drivers. I saw about a half dozen or more drivers doing the wave around because they were on those fresh tires, and Falkingham continues to be out front here, with King, Macklin, Gonzalez, and Glenn Campbell in the top 5 as the pace car peels off. Field left to Daniel Falkingham. Similar to before, Kevin King down underneath. Slow restart, but now Daniel puts the hammer down, heads to turn number 1.
The green flag comes back out. The 39 of Daniel Falkingham will lead them down. He's dominated the race so far, Kevin, but now the question is, who puts himself in a position to try to win this thing? Does anybody have anything for Daniel Falkingham in the remaining 40 laps or 35-ish laps of this event? Kevin King has run second for most of it. And then in behind, we're starting to see some of these drivers that maybe gained advantage of that caution flag with the way the green flag pit stops were cycled through. There's Josh Williams, was able to get the free pass in that caution flag back on the lead lap. He's battling with Josh Parker. I believe Josh would have been able to come down pit road on that caution flag, Kevin, and get some damage repaired to the race car. Doesn't look as bad as it did on the last run, but it's still, that's not going to help.
Whatever they fix, he just banged it out. Going off of turn number 2.
You know what? The back end, though, looks a little bit better. He hasn't pushed in the back end of that Camry, but that front, or that right side front end damage definitely is not going to help him, but he's still ahead of Byron Daly for what it's worth, at least on this run.
Yeah, he's got that typical sail panel on that right front corner, which really hurts the car in corner entry. But, that was just a byproduct of entering low of turn number 2. It's so hard over there to hold the car, and just wasn't able to do it. Good run right now by Doug Roth. He's parlayed all this up to a 9th place position for himself and hanging pretty right there.
And you know what? Just up the road a little bit, he's battling with Chad Coleman, by the way. Chad Coleman running in the top 10. And you look up from the 38 tap-out tuning car, and we get a couple of drivers that are in the top 10. Obviously, Brian Macklin was on the back half of the top 10. He's currently running in position number 3 now with everything cycling through, and in the top 5 for the first time this evening. And I don't want to say first time this season, but it's been a while since we called his name in the top 5. How about Richard Beasley? That is a throwback to Ricky Rudd's first start at Rockingham back in 1975. He is running in the top 5. Glenn Campbell right in behind him. Tommy Ryan, Scott Simley up there as well. So some names that we are familiar to call here in the Transervice Cup Series. Maybe not necessarily this evening, but they are starting to make their way towards the front, albeit pit strategy or what have you. They still got to hang here for the next 32 laps, and so far so good for some of these cars, but we'll see how the long run treats them if we do go green to the end.
I'm going to say something that really shows my age, but a lot of these drivers look like they're racing HO cars, and Daniel Falkingham looks like he has a G+. That car is just stuck to the racetrack as good as can be. Almost looks like a real modern slot cars. That car, absolutely perfect. If you watch every lap, it almost looks like a replay of the lap before. His line just does not waver at all. It's just amazing how he's on the seam in the same spot, turns down, catches the apron in the right place. It would be a study for anyone to learn how to drive this racetrack watching his performance here tonight.
The thing that gets me is the last two laps for him were a 35 and a 48. It's a 29-35, 29-48. Kevin King last time by was a 75. Macklin was a 78. Gonzalez was an 80. Richard Beasley was a 7. Consistently 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second a lap quicker is Daniel Falkingham on this short run. Now, Kevin, I don't know if he's anticipating a caution flag coming out here in the next 10 laps or so, because if he continues to do what he's doing, he might be able to come down in 10, 12 laps and get tires, because most of those drivers likely will. They've got an extra set of tires sitting there in the pits. But if this thing goes green, we'll see how much Daniel Falkingham lights it up a little bit as the 37 of Elliott Henderson we're seeing on pit road, heavily damaged on that race car. But Falkingham continues to light it up, albeit that time by, he was an 87, which was a little bit slower than some of the cars behind him, but he's got a second, almost 2 seconds of an advantage back to these drivers here running second, third on back.
And really, really exciting to see the 44 Glenn Campbell running in the top 10 here. Transervice, based in Lake Success, New York. Transervice has been sponsoring this series. They're 25,000 pieces of equipment in 120 regional and local facilities in North America. Help him out with his effort here. Glenn, an important part of the Transervice connection here. It's just really, really cool to see Glenn having a good run here tonight.
Yeah, it was run out with caution flag is out. We got one stop, and that's Kevin Brown, I believe, in the 93, as he'll get it back going one more time. But it's some of these drivers have had better runs than the others. No, that's Josh Parker, actually. That's a 23 instead of a 93. Parker going to get going and going to have a little more damage to fix Kevin on that race car, as we will queue up the Kong, a beer bong instant replay to see what brought the caution out with just over 25 laps remaining in this 11th round for the Transervice Cup Series. Paul, what happened down there to bring out the caution flag for Mr. Parker? It's been a rough night for the number 23 car.
Yeah, JP23 doing a pretty decent job here tonight with all the damage that he's got on that number 23 car there, but unfortunately ends up getting a little bit of contact between he and the 95 there. Joshua Williams going to take a peek at it here in the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. You saw he was right in the back bumper of Williams. Williams got a little bit loose. He got a little bit loose again. There was some contact. I don't know if that was a right-hand turn swipe like we saw a little bit earlier on from another driver, but he gets spun around, and everybody does a great job parting the seas. Nobody hits him here as he's parked in the middle of the racing groove, but he does grab a gear. He does get going, so no internal damage to that race car. We'll see what he's going to do with that number 23 machine as he comes down pit road to see if he can get some repairs.
So on the schedule, 100 laps was when they wanted to pit for their next cycle of tires at 106. You see a lot of drivers, well, they're going to take that opportunity. 4 tires and fuel on Glenn Campbell's car. He's down and away. Good pit stop for him. Same could be said for the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. He finished his service very quickly. He's going to come off pit road. Will he be able to beat the 88 of Kevin King? He's not going to be able to, as Falkingham flawless service again will bring him out right now. I have to imagine that all the drivers get a pit for tires one more time here, Tim.
Yeah, the only lead lap car to stay out on the racetrack was Josh Parker, but I believe he was probably catching up to the pace car at that point, so we expect him to come down onto pit road in these final few laps of caution, but most of the drivers that are in front of him are 1 or more laps behind the pace, as Parker will stay out on the racetrack. That could be a very bold strategy if he decides to continue to stay out, but some of these drivers I think are going to get that wave around. Not a bad strategy, Kevin, considering that we only went 15 laps or so. So if you are one of those drivers that is 1 lap down, why not? Stay out on the racetrack, get your lap back. We're only going to have 23, 22-ish laps to go. So if you can hang on for that long and stay on the lead lap, you're bound to gain a couple of spots.
Yeah, and you know the story. Cautions breed cautions, so you have to wonder if some of these drivers can parlay this into being able to be on that lead lap and get some track position. Is you're right, Parker did stay out, so he's going to wreck Falkingham's perfect. I might lead every lap in this race event, as he's going to lead lap 107. As far as I know, I'm not sure on the timing and scoring. Falkingham has led every lap. I think I have that right so far.
It wouldn't surprise me with the way this strategy has gone. He's been up front. He's been the fastest race car, and Kevin, you and I both know the fastest race car doesn't always win the race, but he's been pretty lights out tonight. Kevin King, I think we might have to agree that he's probably the second best race car, or at least on the second and third runs, Kevin has been probably the second best race car. And then after that pit strategy changed everything, and that little green flag fracas that led to a caution flag took a couple of players out of there. I think it's anybody's guess for third, but Josh Parker stayed out. We're going to go green with Josh Parker on old tires and a damaged race car up front.
Yeah, Parker out front. And you see the 8, Yoka, Montesi, Brown, Ryan, Henderson, and Joey Jatina, all of them taking advantage of the wave around, going around and getting the lap back here. But this should make for an interesting dynamic for the race start. For the first time, we're going to have the 23, but I think Falkingham from the bottom will be able to clear him by turn 1. That's the money I would put on the table.
And then he's got Kevin King right in behind him. So he might not be the control car, but I think Daniel Falkingham and Kevin King are going to be the two drivers that are probably going to sprint out to the lead here with the 23 and Josh Parker damaged on that outside line. Pace car is going to duck off here. And there goes Parker. That's the only thing I think he could have done, Kevin, with those old tires. Get as big of a lead as you can and don't spin them. Green flag back out.
Good strong run by Gonzalez on the outside, but I think he's going to get to the 23 and it's going to run out of racetrack. Falkingham cleared by turn 1. Here comes King to the bottom. He gets a good run off of turn 2. The car wiggles a little bit, but he's got enough traction. He's going to clear him to the back straight.
Doug Roth around the back, and we are going to see the caution flag for the fourth time here this evening. We almost saw it up front, Kevin, between the 26 and the 30. I don't know where Macklin was going with it. He was going all the way down to the inside to try to clear him, but he didn't get there. We'll cue up the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. Paul, what happened to the 43?
Looks like it's getting to the point where we're getting late into the race here, boys, and the patience is starting to run out. That give and take is starting to turn into take and take. And here you can see the 43 down low, kind of comes up in front, smacks the wall just a little bit, gets a big old swat from the Bitcoin car, and there you see him smashing into the inside pit wall. He had safer barrier down there with a couple of more little incidences there. He's got a tore up front end, looking like a modified up in the front of that race car. So the 43, not the night he was looking for. Currently going to be restarting here back towards the back of the pack. Seeing appears 24 cars about on the lead lap, so going to be a long way to go and a short time to get there.
Yeah, as open as the front of that car was, you could see the color of the wiring on the firewall for that number 43. That thing is tore up, ripped the whole nose off. And yeah, been there and done that. I think I did that last night, right about the exact same spot here at Darlington. So the 30, Brian Macklin now sitting in that third position. He made big advantage, as you said, Tim, of that restart. Jose got kind of stuck in there, and when I was watching Jose go into turn 1, I was like, oh, Jose, hold on, man, you're going a little quick.
And almost had that little incident with the 30 car, Brian Macklin trying to fight for the same piece of real estate as the free pass car goes by. Josh Parker has decided to come down pit road to get service to his race car, so that'll bring the 23 car down. It'll move Jose Gonzalez, Richard Beasley, Tommy Ryan, Chad Coleman, Glenn Campbell, Scott Simley, and Robert Gillenwater into the top 10 as we will restart with less than 20 laps to go. And I think the two quickest race cars are up front. So if Kevin saved anything, I think this might be the time to show it. We know Daniel's really good on the short run. And if we continue to have these cautions breeding cautions, it might be a telltale for the 39 of Daniel Falkingham.
You have to think from a track position standpoint, these drivers are done going to pit road up front. If you go back, it's so hard to pass here that you're not going to want to give up your track position, even if you got a fresh set of tires, unless everybody's going to do it. So they're single file here getting ready for the restart. And to your point, we have to see whether Kevin King has something. And, this is that type of racetrack, Tim, where you do hold your cards. Maybe you get one of those long runs at the end and you've saved your tires, managed them better than the car in front of you. It's not out of the question to think that somebody back here is holding up.
And looking at these cars that are out here, I don't think anybody has tires left. They've already done 3 pit stops, already taken 4 tires. There's 4 sets of tires for each of these drivers to start the race. The 23 car just came down pit road, but I think the damage is going to kind of negate the new tires on that race car, Kevin. So you kind of have what you have right now, and you're going to get as much as you can on this restart because everybody is so bunched up tight together. It's just a matter of who steps over that line and who, potentially creates that next caution flag. But we've got some players up here, as we mentioned. Glenn Campbell having a great run. Robert Gillenwater's been flirting with the top 10 all night long, or at least in the second half of this race is up in the top 10 for the first half after that green flag pit stop sequence went awry. Richard Beasley is up here. Tommy Ryan is back up here after qualifying in the top 10, has made his way back up into the top 10 running 6th. So there's some players up here that could have something to say before this thing is all said and done. We'll come back with 17 laps to go when we see that green flag.
Yeah, in essence, you have a Saturday night feature here at Darlington 1.3 mile speedway, and everybody's going to be hammered down. We talked earlier about give and take. Well, it's going to be take all the way to the finish here. I don't know if we've seen the end of Barney waving that yellow cloth here, but we'll find out, as this is where we get to that time, Tim. How many different ways can Falkingham restart this race and switch it up and change it so Kevin King can't sneak one on him?
You might have to get a little bit crafty, a little bit creative here, but I think you got the speed if you're Daniel Falkingham, but you also have the clean air if you stay out in front of this field. Pace car is in. Daniel Falkingham begins to slowly get on the hammer, and there it is there. Green flag is out, and he leaves the field in his dust.
Yeah, he's gone. All they see is that yellow spoiler head off into turn number 1 and into the sunset side by side as we see the 30 get sideways, and that's going to draw the caution. I'm not sure if that was the cause of the incident. The 30 was yawed about 45 degrees, but he kept it heading in the right direction.
Now we got Josh Parker, and I believe the 24, is the start of the yellow flag. He definitely is. Stefan Marinik is going to bring out the caution flag. It's a multi-car incident, and everybody going down to the corner fighting for the same piece of real estate. And Paul, that wasn't all Stefan Marinik. He had a little bit of help from behind.
Sometimes it's all about having a little bit of help from your friends or your foes, depending on how you look at it. But a great break for Brian Macklin. You saw a big wiggle there out of the 30 car, and hasn't had the finishes to get down where he needs to be in the points. Came home with the win, the very first race of the season, but struggling since then, and he's going to have a chance to review or to kind of regather his thoughts. But we're taking a look at the Kong Beer Bong instant replay, and going to look at the Track Cam's 22 chopper cam. Here we go. We're going to take a look going into the corner, and there you can see a little bit of contact, a little bit of help from the 24, and pretty much boggles everybody up. 33 involved, the 43, the 8 skates on by. Ooh, big hit there for the 33, or the 93 rather, of Kevin Brown. That's a big hit on that car, and seems like everybody was able to drive away, so that's good news there.
I get by with a little help from my friends, as you said to me, and everybody had a little piece of that from back there. And, that's one of the characteristics of this racetrack. Somebody turns sideways, everybody's going to pile in, especially on entry of turn 1. There's just no place to go. It's not like you could drive to the apron. If you do, you're going to the wall anyway.
Yeah, taking a look at that replay back there. I think Josh Parker, tonight might have hit everything but the pace car. We kid because we care. He got into that 93 of Kevin Brown as he was upside down. Damage on the front, damage on the right-hand side, a little bit to the back end. I think maybe the driver door, Kevin, on this race car might be okay. I think everything else has had a little bit of a run-in tonight.
You need a little John C. Riley kick to the door. Why'd you do that? Because I don't want you to get spoiled, Buck.
Yeah, there's not much. There's not much left that's clean. I think that even the left front had a little bit of damage. But you know what? We kid, but Josh isn't alone. There's a lot of damaged race cars out here that look like they've been through a night at Martinsville or Bristol rather than Darlington. It's not just the right-hand side on some of these race cars that's all tore up. But for the most part, some of those drivers up in front look a little more clean than the others in behind.
Yeah, that didn't work out very well for Joey Cittini. He had about 8 car lengths. We're going to have to put one of those radars on the front of him that applies the brakes when it's approaching a car there. 'Cause he comes sailing in there, and his strategy didn't work. But of course, the whole track was blocked. I guess I can't blame him. But Joey, come on, man.
And you see the 13 there, David Comstock. You can't blame David. We talked about these guys at the end of the race getting everything that they can on the restart because everybody is so close together. He got into a hole that closed up a little bit quicker than I'm sure he even imagined, and a little bit of damage to the front end. He and Byron Daly there under caution running side by side. But there's Daniel Volkingham, your leader, up in front. Great restart the last time, and I don't think we saw the last one yet. But he and Kevin King seem to have it figured out. I think the one to watch might be Brian Macklin. Got that apron the last time on that restart and almost bought the farm if it wasn't for the guys behind him.
Rack him up, and here we go again. Right? That's the way it's going to work.
So they'll be side by side, getting ready for the restart. 12 laps to go. Dozen laps left. We get ready to go back to green. Familiar front row. And then in behind, it's Brian Macklin, Jose Gonzalez, Richard Beasley, Chad Coleman. 2 teammates running 5 and 6 right now. Tommy Ryan, Scott Simley, Glenn Campbell. And then you don't have to talk about the up and down night that Don Elia has had. He and Robert Gillenwater, it seems like, Kevin, they've been going back and forth all night long. They are 10th and 11th on this restart.
And looking at Richard Beasley, I hate to do this to him, but boy, that car looks clean.
Yeah, you did it now.
Come on, don't bend it. Come on, Richard. You only have a handful of laps left.
Oh, the 1 week that's Tide's not on the car, it might come home clean.
Yeah. Pace car's in. We did not see the start like we saw before. Kevin King jumps a little sideways. That's going to allow Macklin to jump in there, and Beasley's down underneath King trying to look at that position, but he's not going to be able to do it. New second place car. As second verse save as the first, Daniel Falkingham jumps out. He's got a good half car length, but that's going to get reeled back in. We're back under yellow here before we get to the backstretch.
And I'm sure Kevin King probably wants that restart back, but he's going to have one more opportunity. But Kevin, he's going to be on the inside of row number 2. That caution, the 8 car of Randy Yoakum, and we're going to queue up the Kong Beer Bong instant replay. And Paul, this one may have been facilitated on his own with a little help afterwards.
Yeah, and we see that happen here at Darlington. We've been here a couple of times over the past few weeks here on Vidane TV, and it's a little bit tough sometimes coming out of the corners, but we're going to focus in here on the number 8 car, Randy Yoakum here. Comes up onto the wall, outside wall, comes back down to the 24, hits the outside wall again, then comes back down, hits the 63 car, and he's going to come to a screeching halt right down there, that little piece of grass there. He stops before he hits the inside safer barrier, so good news there. Other than a little bit of damage he just picked up, car looks relatively clean. Still trying to hold on to a top 25 finish here for the number 8 Snap Mobile Dot Shop car of Randy Yoakum.
We talked about how challenging this track is, and we talk about these incidents, and it's easy from up here to look at it, but I can assure you, having driven this racetrack, it's frustrating as can be. Some of these drivers are just waiting for that checkered flag, and others are, they're still game to give it a run here. The 8 hard into the first turn there, maybe a little too hard, but it's go time. They're not leaving anything on the table here, Tim.
Now, I think this is where Daniel Falkingham is kind of faced with a question. Do you take the inside line with Brian Macklin to your outside? First time Macklin's going to start in the front row this evening. Do you take the outside, knowing that Macklin has kind of been hit or miss on that inside line? And if you start on the inside line, you got Kevin King right in behind you to bring Kevin King along for the ride with you. If you start on the outside, you've got Richard Beasley behind you in the 10. So there's might be a little bit of a strategy call here on this restart as to where the leader will pick. Looking back in row number 3, we talk about a lot of these drivers. You know, they play a lot of iRacing. They'll do a lot of fixed racing. They'll do some racing outside of this SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. But a lot of these drivers play other titles as well, Kevin. Kevin King, Richard Beasley have been playing MLB The Show 21 the last couple of nights. I can tell you that it's got a little bit heated. The competition level between Kevin and Richard the last couple of nights has been big. I know they kind of hinted at potentially a game 3 in their series after tonight's race. So if you follow either Richard Beasley or Kevin King on Twitch, I'm sure if that game does happen, it'll probably be on one of their Twitch channels. We can tell you that Kevin won the first game on Saturday 8-3. Richard won the second game last night 8-4, and there was some twisted feelings over a game of virtual baseball last night, Kevin. So game 3 might be fairly interesting if it does happen tonight. But now they're going to line up side by side. So who knows what's going to happen after this restart?
Yeah, it's batter up for Macklin on the outside. He's got a shot to see what he can do for Daniel Falkingham. And I think that Kevin King's going to be happy not to have somebody charging to the inside of him over there in turn number 1. Got to give a call to the 26, just sitting there. Again, yeoman race for the number 26 of Jose Gonzalez, running in that 5th position right now. He just knows how to get the job done and be there at the finish. Give him a helmet, and the guy will finish top 10 for you every race.
He has been solid this evening. He's been up in the top 10 for most of this race, battling in the top 5 late. He's had a couple of really good runs in this Transervice Cup Series and looking to finish it off now. Obviously, we got 8 laps to go, and there's a lot that can happen in the final 8, coming to 7 to go when we take the green flag. But, give a call out to Jose Gonzalez, Tommy Ryan to the outside. Glenn Campbell's still up in the top 10. Chad Coleman. We haven't talked a whole lot about Chad Coleman moving towards the front. He's kind of been stalled mid-pack, but he's running in 7th place as we work down the back straightaway to come back to green. It looks like Falkingham has chosen the inside line, so we'll see how this works out for him here.
Ryan, 9th in points right now, 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, looking for 5th top 10 of the season, having a solid run. Chad Coleman has 4 top 10s too, so these 2 drivers looking to get out of here with the top 10. Falkingham streaks away. No doubt that was the restart he was looking for again. The 99 goes underneath Beasley. He's got a car length ahead. He's going to take that 5th position. It's Falkingham out front, though, over Macklin, King, Gonzalez. Wow. 99 got way sideways off of turn number 2. I thought Beasley would get to him.
Then we got one car around in the back. Oh, it's Glenn Campbell. After having such a great run tonight, Glenn is around in the Transervice number 44, and that will draw ourselves a caution flag, and we'll probably, if not set up a green-white checker, come pretty darn close to it. We'll throw it down to Paul with the Kong Beer Bong instant replay.
Getting their money's worth here tonight with the Kong Beer Bong instant replay, and we're going to take a peek, focus in on that number 44 Transervice car. Down low underneath this 95 of Josh Williams, and there you can see... it's kind of tough to see exactly what happened from that camera angle. So with the benefits of those with flash photography, we're going to wind it back and pause it for 5 seconds. We're not going to pause it for 5 seconds. It would have worked out really well. But here you can see, comes down on the apron and just really loses the car coming off the corner. Kevin and I talked about it before the race here. If coming off the corner, if you get back in that throttle too quickly, it can really upset the back of the car, get it a big wiggle there. And unfortunately, when you're in traffic like that, that's not the move to make, and you can see backs into the inside safer barrier there. So that's a tough break for Glenn in the 44.
Yeah, add one more dynamic to that. When you're down low underneath someone, you want to make sure you kind of hold that low line. And on the exit of turn number 2, you just catch that apron And, the way the racetrack is designed over there, the corners at this racetrack are 25, 23 degrees, but the backstretch banking is 2 degrees. So you clip that apron and then you come off into the flat 2 degrees of banking on the backstretch, and it's just really hard. The car lightens up quite a bit, and it's easy to lose the car off of turn number 2 over there.
And to the point as well, with drivers having a great run going bad there, Glenn Campbell spun out. He also collected Robert Gillenwater, who was up in the top 10 for most of the night, and you can see it right there, a lot of damage to the front end of that race car, but he is not alone. Byron Daly in front of him is missing some sheet metal on the front end. Oumar Diallo was also missing a couple of front end parts on his race car. There's a couple of rough looking pieces out here just outside the top 10. There is your 10th place race car. That is Josh Parker, somehow still up here battling it out for a spot. For the most part, your top 9 or so, Kevin, look fairly clean. It's the guys that are out back. There's Gillenwater down on pit road, and I believe he has called it a night. That's a tough break for the 4 car after running so strong here this evening. But I think the top 10 or so have a pretty clean race car, and then everybody else in behind has got a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah, it's kind of a odd complexion to this race, the way it played out. In weeks prior, we had a bunch of cautions, and then we had long green flag to the finish. It's the opposite play here. Caution at lap 35, caution at lap 90, and then 104, 108, 114, 120, 125. So just can't seem to get this stretch going. But one thing's been consistent. The restarts have been spectacular for that 39. It's almost like he's got a different gear than everybody else.
So I think when we come back here, Kevin, I think we're going to have a unofficial green-white checker finish. It's not going to be overtime. I think we're going to go green on lap number 129. So we're still going to have the opportunity to get 2 laps. Leader's going to have to come back and try to get that white flag, which has kind of been easier said than done as you recap there with the laps that the caution flag has come back out. This should be the 1 to go lap here. Lights should be off atop the pace car. And look at that. Daniel Falkingham, for what could potentially be the final restart of the night, going to take the outside line.
Falkingham, your leader, chooses the high line with the 30 of Brian Macklin on the bottom. Kevin King down there in 3rd position, the 26. You have to wonder if Jose can follow the 39. If he can get that timing right, it might pay dividends being back there behind him. And some commentary about Robin Gillenwater, a finger out the window at you was the sentiment after that last incident. So, I think there's going to be some interesting conversations after this show.
One other point to mention as well, coming into this evening, Richard Beasley sat 16th in the point standings. Obviously, there's some drop races to factor in, Kevin, but he would be one of those drivers to try to potentially point his way in. He's on that bubble-ish area. He was battling hard with Tommy Ryan in that last green flag run. We'll see what he can do here and see if he can get that finish. Don't want to upset the apple cart to try to take away that finish. But here comes the green flag. And, spinning of the tires, and we're going to stack them up on the front straightaway. That was ugly.
Oh, yeah. At 30 got sideways, and wow, that just collected a huge amount of drivers trying to make a decision about where to go.
Yeah, you talked about those restart games, Kevin, and how Daniel has to mix it up. Daniel mixed it up there. He's usually in the middle of the corner off going. He waited a little bit longer, which is his prerogative. And it looks like once he went, the 30 spun the tires, and it was on from there. But Paul will cue it up. When Macklin spun the tires, they were already kind of wrecking behind him, too.
Yeah, and it's tragic for the number 30 of Brian Macklin. Almost made it all the way through a race with a good top 5 finish, running up there in 2nd position. Well, we'll take a look at it again from the trackscams22.com shopper cam, and there you can see Macklin spinning the tires, and they were already wrecking behind him, like you made mention. Beasley's involved, the 48's involved. There you see Roth in the 43, Glenn Campbell, Josh Parker. There's Chad Coleman. He was up in the top 10. He's involved. Mike Montesi, he's trying to hang on for a decent finish. Glenn Campbell, holy moly. Kind of a who's who here in the Transervice Cup Series. A lot of drivers getting extra damage added to those race cars here in the last final few laps.
That was literally the whole field. The only two that got away. The only two that got away was the 88 and the 39. The entire field was involved in that over on front stretch. I don't think I've ever seen that. Have you ever seen that, Tim?
It's been a while since I've seen something that big, but we're gonna get the pace car out here. We'll collect the field, and we'll have our first of what could potentially be two green-white checker finishes here. It's going to take a couple of moments here for the sim to try to figure out where everybody is supposed to be, because Kevin, when the caution flag came out, I believe most of these cars weren't even across the line. So we'll see where the sim decides to score these drivers here. But Daniel Falkingham, Kevin King, definitely going to be your top two. And then we'll see where everybody else gets scored. We're just waiting to see the pace car collect the field. And there's the pace car. There's some of the field. And the other half of the field is parked here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, the biggest benefactor, I think, is going to be the 12. Simley was probably the one that drove through that the cleanest. But, yeah, I think there was a time in New Hampshire, and yours truly and Stan Nickel got together coming out of turn number 4 for a restart and stacked up the entire field in a North American Simulation Series race in 2003. And every single car except for one was involved in a 30-plus car field. So I've seen it once before, but it's been a long time since I've seen an incident of that magnitude.
We had a wreck a couple of weeks ago in the Nascar Coca-Cola iRacing Series, about a half lap or three-quarters of a lap after a restart, that took out a lot of really good race cars, but nothing like that on a restart. And multiple cars or multiple kind of incidents there. Like Macklin spun the tires. Yes, Macklin had a piece of that, but Richard Beasley and those guys around 6th, 7th, 8th or so kind of wrecking at the same time. So it wasn't just one incident that kind of sparked it. It just a couple of cars at the same time, and then everybody else kind of piling in. Now it looks like the field has collected behind that pace car. We're showing Daniel Falkingham and Kevin King as your top two. And then we're showing Scott Simley in third, Tommy Ryan in fourth, and Chad Coleman all bent to pieces in position number 5. Donnie Leah in 6th, Oumar Diallo in 7th, Josh Parker in 8th, 9th is Josh Williams, and 10th is going to be Byron Daly. So it's going to shake the field up just a little bit here, but you look at the back end of that number 38 TV panel all gone, and he's trying to hang on here. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, Gonzalez had a piece of that too. And, we didn't talk about the dynamic of this restarts. You could start in second. You could start in third. Third is recommended. Second, you'll spin the tires. We saw the 30 spin the tires, and we saw the 26 spin the tires. They were side by side, both turned sideways, and that essentially blocked the racetrack. And now we're going to do it again. We'll see if these drivers can get away here on old, cold, worn tires. Third gear is your friend. Don't hammer it down, and see if you can get the thing straight up off of turn 4.
And not to play, Kevin, not to play the jinx card on all of this, but when you look back at Richard Beasley, we talked about him off that restart running for 16th in points. Looks like the pace car is getting ready to come off here. We're getting ready to go green.
Yeah, this time Falkingham, he had the 30 on his inside, a little bit nose ahead of him. So I think he wanted in that last time to make sure that he got a good restart. This time he broke away cleanly. Everybody through turns 1 and 2 so far, meaning green, as Falkingham has 4 car lengths over Kevin King to the backstretch.
Surprised how quick Chad Coleman was able to get to the hammer. Tommy Ryan in behind him. That's the battle for 4th on back. Top 3 have broken away, and everybody in behind trying to get what they can, but the leader is going to get to the white flag. Final lap for Daniel Falkingham.
White flag in the air. Falkingham needs to go 1.3 miles. He's most of the way through that here as he heads to the backstretch. Tommy Ryan trying to fight for that position with Chad Coleman. Coleman able to get away a little bit. Kevin King got nothing for Daniel Falkingham over here in turns 3 and 4. Coming off turn number 4, Daniel Falkingham sees the checkered flag in hand. He's going to score the victory here at Darlington Raceway.
Second win of the season for the 39 of Falkingham. Kevin King comes home in second, and Scott Simley comes home in a third after that wild finish to this race. Chad Coleman, Tommy Ryan, Josh Parker, Byron Daly, Josh Williams, Donnie Leah, and I think David Comstock's going to squeak in a top 10 finish here out of this one, Kevin. A wild finish at the end. Some of those drivers that needed points that were running near the front of the field didn't get them at the end. Some of those drivers that might not have necessarily been up there most of the night come home with a good finish, but domination, I think, is the easiest thing to say for Daniel Falkingham tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. Falkingham led every lap but one, I believe, and just destroyed the field here as he burns them down on the front straightaway. And woulda, coulda, shoulda for Beasley, Gonzalez, and Macklin back there. 16th, 17th, 18th-ish. Tough night because they were really going to cash in here, and that late race incident really shook everything up towards the end.
Yeah, some drivers at the bottom half of that page trying to get some points here this evening. They didn't pan out. Mike Montesi struggled early in this race, comes home 14th. So there's some drivers that benefited from the issues at the end for some, and there's some that didn't come out on the right side. Brian Macklin, 19th. Joey Gattina, 20th. Glenn Campbell ran so strong early tonight. Finishes 22nd. Last car on the lead lap. Robert Gillenwater doesn't complete the race in 24th. After running in the top 10 most of the evening, Kyle Taraska parked in 28th. You look back through the field, and the other drivers that are in this field, back to Eric Arnold in 35th, had some tough luck this evening. But it's Daniel Falkingham again going to victory lane for a second time this season.
Yeah, certainly the conversation from this evening going into Dover is going to be the incident with Taraska and 48 of Oumar. And, I hope that cooler heads prevail, that sometimes racing incidents occur on a racetrack. Bad decisions are made one way or the other. I'm not putting blame on anyone for there. But, these drivers hopefully could shake that off and figure out how to get past it, move into Dover, and race themselves clean. That's what happens a lot of times. And, we hope they get things sorted out there. But can't take anything away from the story here tonight. To your point, Falkingham just dominated the race. With the talent behind him, nobody had anything for that number 39.
And was able to keep it clean. Kevin King finishing second tonight, I think is the same sort of story. Ran up front. Maybe didn't have anything for Daniel Falkingham, but kept that car clean to position number 2. And then you look at the balance of the top 5. Tommy Ryan qualified up there, fell back early, finished in the top 5. Chad Coleman, didn't speak about him all night long, had a broken car at the end, comes home in 4th, and Scott Simley able to avoid all the issues at the end to come home with 3rd. But I believe, Kevin, we have our winner. You're down there with Daniel Falkingham. Another win this season for the 39 car.
Yeah, Daniel, how you doing tonight? Well, I see the smile on your face, and I know what it's all about. What a race tonight for you. Just destroyed him is the word I'll use.
Yeah, Kevin. No way you're wiping this smile off my face. What a race tonight. Pretty much did the same thing I did at Richmond in the fall last year, but that race had not gone any more perfect for us. Definitely felt like once we got the fall, I felt like we could control this race from start to finish. Just I don't know how the pit stop sequences with cautions were going to fall, but I felt like if the race could go my way, we could control this thing. That's exactly what we did. So I'm very proud to get this win in the old Ryan. Hey, I'm in the Ryan Newman throwback, so no one was passing us tonight anyway.
You have to watch the race and see the extracurricular activities that happened behind you. It was an interesting show on that point, but this is a difficult racetrack. The car is a handful here, and we were commenting midway through the race. It almost looked like you were running a slot car. You've got this place figured out.
Yeah, I love Darlington. Darlington is one of my favorite tracks on the service. It's pretty annoying to race, but it's a lot of fun to drive, especially with the updates they did to it this week, taking like a second and a half worth of grip out of the track, it seemed like. And we were just sliding all around tonight. So definitely fun to race the 750 horsepower package here compared to what we ran with the 550 last year. And it's really cool. I'm glad I was able to finally win at this place. We've come so close the last 2 years. 2019, we should have had this thing won, but we had an incident on the last lap. And then 2020, just pit strategy didn't fall our way. But other than that, I'm so glad I'm able to get a win here because I haven't won a win here for a good while now. and during a throwback race with the Ryan Newman throwback and whatnot that I ran last year, brought it out for another attempt to see if we could finish the deal, and we did just that. So it's really special as well. This is my first Cup win since my father passing away, and it was really cool for everyone who ran all the decal and stuff last week. And I don't have the decal on my car tonight because I pretty much got this car done, or I got this car prepared last minute. I wasn't able to get it on, so I dedicate this win to my dad after he passed a few weeks ago, and pretty much pulling my own Mark Martin when his father passed away and whatnot. So this is a very, very, very special win. I can't describe it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Daniel, we talk about different racetracks. We come in with a 550 versus 750 package, and it always seems to me that when we hit this high horsepower package, it suits your driving style.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think a majority of my wins, even like going back to last year as well, a lot of my wins have been with the 750 horsepower package and whatnot with the low downforce. So I got a thing for this package, I guess. I mean, I don't mind the 550 horsepower package. It is annoying to drive, but there's times where it can be really fun with all the brawling and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I guess with the 750 horsepower package, it's just kind of my wheelhouse, I guess. And also the thing was with Darlington tonight, it was pretty much a one groove racetrack. It was really hard to pass, and with dirty air coming into effect as well, that's allowed us to get a gap like we did. So yeah, it was just many factors, pretty much what I was able to control, and just pretty much just how the race played out and whatnot. So yeah, but yeah, like you said, 750 is kind of turning into my wheelhouse lately.
Yeah, my guess is you'll look down the road at the calendar entry for Darlington and circle that one for later this year as yep, nobody had anything for you. Were you paying attention out the rear view?
Yeah, I was definitely keeping an eye on the intervals and whatnot, but I mean, yeah, of course, after the first run we had, I think we pretty much knew like what the race was going to be. I mean, everyone was all spread out. Then once we got the first caution, it was another long green flag run. Then after the second caution, it started all heck broke loose per se. So, but yeah, I was definitely keeping my eye out, especially on the restarts, because I mean, those first laps after the restart with the heat cycles on the tires can be very treacherous going into turn one with some people losing it and whatnot. So, very treacherous and whatnot. But I was definitely keeping an eye on Kevin, who Kevin's always fast, and also Josh, Oumar, all those guys. They didn't make it easy for me tonight. I mean, all these wins are never easy. So it's very, very humbling to be able to beat these guys and be able to show what I can do against these guys as well. And I kind of had the benefit that Adam wasn't here tonight because he's up in Darlington. So I guess I had the benefit of that as well.
Yeah, a couple drivers opting to go to the real race didn't make it in here tonight, but certainly everybody saw you get the job done here. Congratulations, Daniel. One quick moment for you to say hello to anybody or give a shout out.
I got to thank all my sponsors on the car. First Rebate Laps 207, albeit in tornado form. But got to thank you to all those guys. Got to thank special shout out to Austin Johnson, who actually made this paint for me last year. Like I said, I ran this paint last year in the throwback race. Decided to bring it back again this year for another try. And we put her in victory lane this time, so very proud of that. Also got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Definitely going to be an interesting one to go back and watch with everything that happened tonight. Got to thank Joey and everyone here at SIM500 who runs the show. Got to thank Transervice for sponsoring the series. Got to thank all my team at Team Name. Chad Coleman, David Comstock, Josh Parker, Bridget Beasley, Byron Daly, Kevin as well, Joy Woods, Pedro Mujica, who wasn't here tonight either. Wish those guys could have gotten better finishes. I know a lot of them had some pretty bad finishes after that second to last restart or whatnot, but thank you to all those guys. Thank you to Bill Schoonover for picking me for the team challenge and whatnot. Definitely got some good points with me and Josh. Shout out to Josh finishing sixth after the rough night he had. Yeah, and got to thank all the fans who watch us each and every week as well. And again, got to dedicate this one to my dad as well.
There you go. Daniel Falkingham becomes the second two-time winner in the season. And I believe this is going to put you at the top of the point championship. Go celebrate, Daniel. We'll see you next week at Dover.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks.
So Kevin to Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to Tim Terry. He's caught up with Kevin King, our second place finisher.
Kevin, it's not the finish I'm sure that you wanted, but it seemed like this car was a second place car all night long. What else did you get up to Daniel?
Track position, I think. I knew saving tires was a big thing. I ran a different league last night, and I was pretty good on the long run. So I just knew that if I just saved tires and had track position, which I missed the first long run, that I probably could have done something. It's just you can't really run with the leader with clean air and dirty air. You kind of just have to run off pace and hope that it comes back. But Yeah, you think we were pretty good long run pace. I gave up so much in the beginning to have that long run speed that it kind of didn't ever really matter because we had yellows and a bunch of other fun stuff. And then of course I hit the wall a few times, which didn't help. But overall, still happy because it could have been a lot worse. But definitely would have liked to have a clean car up there to see what I could have done. I just wasn't in the mindset of running as hard as he was to start the runs because I knew how much it would affect me late. So that's pretty much I think the difference there.
On a green flag run at the start, how frustrating is it running up front with all those restarts, especially at the end, knowing that you have a good car and you want to battle it out with Daniel?
Well, it's frustrating because the thing's so unstable. I think the first lap I almost spun out because I almost took it too easy into the corner and it just kind of spun out on me and I wasn't really expecting it. I was just trying to cruise around. And then just knowing that being on the bottom, if you're on the bottom next to someone that's on your outside going to turn one, was really sketchy. The thing would just snap loose for no reason. And I know you saw that a few times with people on the bottom. So that's the biggest thing is that you hope that you're not on the bottom doing that. But at the same time, you want to make sure that, you're keeping pace with guys in front of you that are able to kind of flat foot a little bit better than you. So the restarts are always a thing. It wasn't so much wrecks and stuff, but it's just turned into just people being real inconsistent with the line and how loose the car was the first couple laps that really jumbled things up. And then, of course, if you were caught behind those guys, you just lost a lot of time. So that was probably what I felt the most was just track position and fun stuff like that.
Dover coming up next week. What do we have for the boys to get a win there?
Yeah, Dover's one of my better tracks. I really like that track. I mean, I feel like if we get some long green flag runs, I've always felt really comfortable there. I get a really good rhythm. I haven't driven the setup to see what that feels like, but the setup is anything like what I normally like in a car, then I'm looking for some big things just because, like I said, I won there in Coke years ago. And it's just been one of those good tracks where I just have really good runs and really good finishes and have pretty good speed. So hopefully I can take the momentum. I think, minus Kansas where I sped, I've finished, or should have finished probably top 5 every race so far in the 3 races that I've run. So I'm confident just in my ability to go in there and do some work and hopefully get another pole and manage the clean air this time versus being behind it.
You got in this race card, who's on the team that helps you get to the racetrack every week?
Yeah, so I want to say thanks to you. I have TCM on the quarter panel. Stream tonight finally. Everyone gets to see that. TCM's on the quarter panel. J Concepts, which is a real life sponsor for me on RC car stuff. The team, Logan Kress, Colton Salick, Adam Gilliland, Danny Hansen, Nick Miller, of course, our new guys, Jackson Crowder, Timmy Holmes, Blake Cisneros of BC Workshops, Outrun Esports, Shell, another real life sponsor, Team Associated, and really all you guys are putting this stuff on. It's been really fun, and I'm glad I get to race against guys that I enjoy racing. I was talking to Oumar, we run a different league on Sundays, and some might say the caliber of drivers are a little higher, but I was telling him that just the skill gap in that league is so great that the racing is actually not the greatest, right? So you have really good guys and you have a cluster of them, and you have some guys who are just kind of like all over the place, and you put that combination together and it's really bad. Here, you may not have the fastest drivers, but you still have really good competition, but the skill gap is such that you can race around someone and not feel like you're about to die. And I think that leads to the green flag racing we've seen even at this track. So I actually enjoy this race for that, or for this league for that aspect. It's not so much that you don't have the fastest people, but it's no one likes running under yellow. So other than the debacle we had earlier with some guy kind of losing his head, I've had a blast. I've had a blast racing these guys. The guys are doing a great job. Joey's doing a great job. The drivers are, for the most part, really cordial. You get position on them, they let you go. And that's really what makes these things fun, because if you're just getting blocked and driven to the apron every time, it's really not that fun, and that's when you get wrecked. So I'm looking forward to Dover, and hopefully we can just take a win there finally.
It was a good run tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
That's Kevin King coming home in position number 2. And Kevin England, how about this guy right here? Scott Simley coming home in the top 3. Good to see.
Thanks, guys. That was That's quite the ending. I wasn't expecting that, but well, what a race! A few hot heads. It sounded like maybe midway, but we were probably maybe a top 10 car, but it was that's crazy, to say the least.
You were in the hunt through the whole thing there, Scott, running seventh, and I have the question. That incident occurred over there on the front stretch that collected pretty much the whole field, and it looked like the seas parted for you. Did you have your eyes open or closed as you drove through that?
Man, I know I had them open, but yeah, they definitely parted. I thought it was over. I just saw the smoke and cars scatter, and I thought, oh boy, here we go, and we made her through there. So couldn't believe it, but yeah, it was a good thing.
Yeah, Gonzalez hip checked the number 10 out of the way for you, and we watched you drive through that center, and that looked very good. But you know what? Towards the end, you held on for that final finish to come home in third. And take us through your race here. Do you like this racetrack?
It's kind of grown on me. At first, I didn't like it because it just seems like it's so hard to pass. It's such a momentum track, and but it's really grown on me. We've been running here. The league's been running here quite a bit with the different series I've run in. So I put quite a few laps in. So yeah, it felt pretty good. Obviously, it's just so crazy loose right away at the beginning with the cold tires, and then I got into the wall probably maybe lap 90, and ever since then it never drove the same. It kind of had a little bit of a push to it, and then it really snapped loose. So and then I had some contact with 30, I think, and that I think just kind of petered out, even with the newer tires. I had a set left, I think, with 90 to go. I had an extra set left, and no, it was about 30. I think around that 35 to go. I pitted. Which I don't know how many people had tires left, but I had a set. But obviously, with all the cautions, there was no way to make use of it. We needed it to go green for that to work out, but still probably would have not ended up where I finished. But yeah, it was a good run for us tonight.
Yeah, that condition you talk about, drive with loose or with a push, you push, and then all of a sudden at the end it breaks loose, and that becomes a real struggle at this racetrack. But it looks like you figured out how to parlay that into a third place finish, and good run for you. Every once in a while, you look at the way something plays out, and 22nd to third, who'd have thought it? That's a good night's work, Scott.
Man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So who do you want to say hello to before we close this down?
I got to thank Transervice for putting this on, Joey for putting up with everybody's stuff out there that kind of happened. You guys, Vidane, for broadcasting. You do a great job. Turn One Heroes. I think my teammate Mike didn't have much luck. I think he got into the wall and pretty much hurt his car. Donnie Leah was right behind me towards the end, and then I think he got caught up in that last big melee wreck, but he looked like he was going to be right behind me. Let's see. Sponsors, Verizon on the car, got to thank, again, you guys for just doing the broadcast, and it's a lot of fun. Like I said, like I've always said in my interviews, that there's just a lot of good drivers here. Kevin, Daniel, there's a lot of stout drivers. It's just hard competition, so it's just a lot of fun racing with this.
Yeah, go enjoy that second top 5 of the year, and congratulations. We'll see you next week at Dover.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
So, Tim, I think we had a little mix of everything here tonight, but at the end, it was Daniel Falkingham with a dominating performance.
Absolutely. Kevin King with a dominating second place performance, and then Scott Simley, Chad Coleman, great run for the 38 tap out tuning car, first top 5, I believe, of the season, or at least on these 1.5-ish sort of racetracks. Tommy Ryan, Josh Parker, the rest of the finishing order on your screen. And the next one that we head to is Dover. We saw what these drivers can do here. We saw a very physical race at Bristol, and after what we saw here tonight with some of the competitors, Kevin, I believe Dover may be a little bit physical too.
Yeah, Dover is one of those racetracks like this that tends to be somewhat a single groove, and you really have to assert your authority to to take the pass, and it should make for an interesting race, just like this one. Yeah, they're all a lot of fun, and it's just been a blast running this season. I can't believe that we're 11 races in now, 12 heading in. This season just flying by.
Indeed, it is, and it's going to be a busy week as well because we got some upcoming events here on Vidane TV. Paul, what do we have?
A week full of racing action with a little bit of bench racing to sprinkle it in on top. We're off tomorrow night, Taco Tuesday, so you'll catch me at the bar down there in Modus, Connecticut. Big city as Alexa seems to think. But Wednesday night, Tim's Corner Live back for episode number 15. That's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Right after that, it's going to be the Fatheads Cup Series, and they're going to be rounding out their round of 12 to bump it in down to the round of 8. See who's going to move on to the championship hunt. Getting close to the end of that season. Getting very, very excited. And speaking of excitement, the Multi-League Racing Group Thursday night, they're bringing their Cup Series back here to Vidane TV at 8 o'clock p.m. on Thursday. So that's going to be big-time fun. And then Thursday night, check that Friday night, you'll actually catch me over at Stafford Motor Speedway. Shout out to everybody who gave me a shout out at the track last week. I apologize if I didn't recognize you because everybody's wearing masks and stuff like that. But pretty cool to see the sim racing community kind of come together at the real racetrack. And Kevin, I know you're going to be excited. I got the email today. The SRX tickets, the remaining SRX tickets have been freed up as of 10 o'clock this morning. They are for sale, and they plan on having a full capacity race there for the SRX Racing Series debut on June the 12th of this year. And the night before that, you got to get your tickets early for the Vidane Racing Championship night. Richard Beasley, who you saw here tonight, and Jarrett Bolliard, the two previous Vidane Racing Super Speedway champions, going to hop into the street stock division courtesy of Renta Race Car, and they're going to wheel their way around the half-mile track there at Stafford Motor Speedway. We're really looking forward to that, but lots of action coming up here on Vidane TV, and apparently we got to find out if we can cover some baseball action here, so maybe we'll see a little bit of a baseball grudge match between the King, Kevin King, and Richard Beasley, so we'll try and make that happen here on Vidane TV, but in the meantime, for everybody here in the studio, my name is Showtime, Paul Strickland Jr., Tim Terry, and Kevin England calling all the action every single Monday night for the Transervice Cup Series action. We'll catch you guys on the flip side when we do. We're going to be doing it live.